Hello, Ren with More Bikes and Travels. We're going to be looking at valves today. These are the various parts of the valve that you can see on the bench. And this is the valve. If you look, the valve stem is at the top and the valve head is at the bottom. In the valve is cut a groove at the very top. You might not be able to see that. These are the collets, which have a corresponding lip that will go into the groove around the valve. It's quite difficult to see up this cut without getting a close-up, so I'll show us still. There's the lip, and the valve collets go with the lip goes into the groove like that, and another one goes on as well like that. The two collets, when they're together, form a V shape like this. Now I'll take the collets back off again, because we're going to put on the valve spring retainer, this item here. Notice the hole in the middle, and the valve stem comes through the hole, and we will put the collets back into place. Now it is quite a fiddly task, this. Never easy to do. Once they're in situation, we can slide the valve spring retainer up around the collets and it wedges on the V like that. And again, if you watch, we slide the valve retainer up and it traps the collets into the V, holding everything tight. So we'll take that apart again now. The next stage is to show you the valve springs. There's two here, and both valve springs go over the valve like this. And again, we're now going to put the valve spring retainer back into situation over the top of the springs, and we're going to replace the collets back in as we have done before. And again, it's fiddly. It's difficult enough doing this on the bench, and I've dropped it. You can imagine how difficult it is when you're actually doing it on the cylinder head. A handy tip when you're actually doing this is to use just a blob of grease on the collets to hold them in place whilst you're putting everything else together. We slide that back up. Now I want you to imagine that my hands are the cylinder head, which is pushing up against the springs, holding everything tightly in place. The next item is the shim, this tiny little button shaped piece of metal. Shims are used to adjust the gap between the top of the valve, or the valve bucket, and the camshaft. Thicker ones reduce the gap, thinner ones increase the gap. Now that just pops on top of the collets and the valve in there. It's a fairly small thing and it should just fit just snugly inside. The next item is the bucket, this item here, and that literally just goes over the top of the valve like this. Now to get a clear understanding from a different angle, that's the shim going into place. I'll give you a better look at that. And then over the top of that we place the bucket, which just slips over the top, and again just a better look around to see how the springs and the valve, the shim, the collets and the bucket all sit together.